Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Mortgage Marketing Podcast. In today's episode, we've got a great one for you. I'm excited for today. We've got a lot of stuff to unpack. The show so far, by the way, as well, has been doing super well. So I'm very, very impressed and want to thank you all for all the listeners, for taking this show under your wing, and the move to once a week has really proven to be very, very good. We've got a lot more people subscribing to the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do, because there's a lot of video elements to this as well as audio. And we've seen a massive uptick in downloads on the audio side. So thank you so much to everyone who's taken part so far, and I've absolutely loved it. We've got a real treat for you today, some great stuff. We're going to unpack that right now. So in this week's episode, we are going to look at quick branding tips that you could apply to any social media platforms. Effectively, I think there's about 7 or 8 tips I'm going to go through in this, where they're things that I think if you're looking at getting into the kind of content marketing space as a broker, branding your business up, you need to be aware of these things. You need to know how they work. And these are just very quick tips that you can start to apply for yourself. So I'm very excited about that. We then have our interview of the week, which is with a client of mine, actually, which is Nicola Huxley. Now, she is just wicked. You're in for a real treat with Nicola, because I've been working with Nicola for a while. She is making content that is so story driven. It's unreal, the type of content she's making. And so I'm very proud to have her on the show. I'm very proud to share her with you and get her story, because people often ask about her. In fact, she comes up in a lot of discovery calls. Clients will say, I want to be able to do what Nicola's doing. And so I wanted to get her on the show, share her story, and just get you guys to understand the work that went into that. And I think you'll really enjoy it. And then the final part, the kind of teaching part as well, because obviously it's 3 parts to every episode, I'm actually going to lean a little bit on what Nicola's doing, and I'm just going to teach you a little bit about, and not teach you, explain how the basic framework of storytelling that we originally used. She does a different hybrid version now that she's tailored herself to, but the original one that we used to get her started on that, and you can run away and try that yourself as well. It's hard work, but it's well worth the investment. So we're going to start doing that. We're going to unpack all that episode right now. We're in for a real treat. Let's dive into it.
You're listening to the Mortgage Marketing Podcast with Ash Borland, the show that helps mortgage brokers create impact and income by mastering content marketing. Let's dive straight into it.
The intro always gets me super buzzed. I always love the intro. So guys, let's dive into the very first teaching topic of today, which is quick branding tips that you can apply to your socials. Now, it's just not just socials, but all areas. So it's not a specific platform today. It's just a branding tips, branding strategies, branding overviews that you should be thinking about as a broker if you want to stand out, refine it, make it look good. These are the things we're going to unpack. Okay, we're going to unpack them as about 7 or 8. I think there's 8. But don't quote me exactly on that. I will go through as we go through these. I've got my notes in front of me and everything. So let's dive into the very first one. So the very first one of these tips is that showing up twice weekly is better than not showing up at all. So this is quite an important one to unpack, which is that oftentimes I have had calls with clients or potential clients and discovery calls, and speak to advisors quite often who will tell me that they've been too busy to be able to upload every day, which is what the optimum amount is. It's Monday to Friday. And they'll say, so I just haven't done it. I spoke to a person recently who hadn't uploaded in 18 months, because they were too busy to do it. And I'm putting in quotation marks, too busy, because I have clients who are doing like a lot of business and they're not too busy. But what I mean with that is that they've got themselves in a state of overwhelm. And the reason why I'm saying that is that actually posting something is better than posting nothing. And I think that is probably the biggest misconception that I definitely see a lot of advisors get caught up in is, if you listen to my content, if you watch my videos, if you attend any of the live shows I do every now and then, you will get people who will literally, you'll hear me saying oftentimes in there, oh, okay, you need to be doing it every day. You need to be doing it every day. You do. However, doing it just a little amount is better than doing nothing at all. And I think that I would much rather, and I have said this to clients before, when life's got busy, things happen, stuff happens to me. I have health situations and issues that I've been working through the last couple of years. And so there's we all have life stuff that happens, and it's okay to take your foot off the gas, but just keep showing up. And so if you're somebody who's making 1 video or 2 videos a week or 2 pieces of content a week, whatever, you're still doing more than most people. And so I think that what you shouldn't do is beat yourself up about it. Now, yes, if you're going to work with someone like me, the goal would be to get you to the point where you are a high achiever. The goal is for me to not work with people who are, you don't want to come and work with somebody, pay them money, be accountable, and then not be a high achiever. That's the whole idea. But if you are out there right now, you're struggling, you're getting on with it, it's fine. Like, just keep going. Showing up each little time is better. It's the whole idea of like working out. The workout not done is the one that won't make the impact. If you just go for a walk, that's better than doing nothing. And so it's exactly the same thing here. The next tip that we have for this one, which is don't assume people know your core message. Reinforce it with every piece of content. So this one is just such a powerful one because it is so true, which is that I talk about this in the 3 C's. It's on my website. It's in the blueprint. It's in what I teach. It's my foundations of, clarity, consistency, creativity. But the idea of clarity is the most important thing there. And it's in this, which is you need to make sure that people know what you're about. The best advice was one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me by a very successful YouTuber and a friend of mine who said, Ash, you don't know what piece of content your client is going to see, the first piece. And you don't know if that first piece is the only piece they will ever see. And so you need to really think about this in detail is if every single piece of content doesn't reinforce what you're about, who you serve, why you serve them. It's the reason why if you only look at my reels, I've nearly always am like, if you're a mortgage broker and you're looking to do this, or how can mortgage brokers generate leads through social media? How can and insert mortgage brokers? It's always mortgage broker, mortgage broker, mortgage broker. And it's always normally, how can they do something with either generating leads, using marketing, social media, personal branding? Like it's something around that. And it's about reinforcing that core, that message of I help people who are in this situation do this specific thing. I think that's the biggest mistake I see people make. They start thinking that their content is like an audio book or that they have like audiences. Again, you don't have an audience. You have people who will drop in and out and see you every now and then. So you need to make sure that every piece of content you make is reinforcing it. This is why I'm not a fan of part 1s, part 2s, part 3s, part 4s, because they're designed for a different type of content. They're designed for entertainment. They're designed for influencer-based content. It's entertainment stuff, and you are more of in brokers. You're more of an advice-based, expert-based stuff. So make sure that you do reinforce it time and time again. Now, the next one is probably one of my favorite. All of these are great, but one of my favorite ones, and I've worked. This was what helped me over and over again and has been the kind of ace up my sleeve, and that is develop a visual style because it stimulates quick recall. So if you look at me on screen, if you're watching me, if you're listening, then you'll probably have seen me at some point. You'll know exactly what I look like, which is I have a very specific look. So I have a white t-shirt, usually, sometimes a grey t-shirt, but most of the time white. Greys are for when I'm at home. It's normally, if you catch me in a grey t-shirt, it's because I'm chilling out at home and I've got an idea. White t-shirt is work related. So I have a white t-shirt. I have my tattoos on show. I'm in a very specific environment all the time. Lights in the corner, a Buddha in the background, and a bonsai tree with some green stuff around me. The reason why I say this is these are things that are visual cues that will make people remember you over and over again. So having these in your branding and in your marketing and your videos is really, really valuable. That's why wearing a specific type of clothing or a specific color or being associated with a specific cover is super, super good. Chris Target, Social Brokers, friend of mine, legend. Some of you will be his clients. A lot of you would have listened to his podcast. If you haven't, Social Brokers, check it out. And it's orange and blue. Everything is orange and blue. Everybody knows who Chris Target is because he's orange and blue. He calls it the Sainsbury's bag effect. And I love that. It's exactly the same thing. do not underestimate the power of visual, because it will make people remember you without having to actually read or think longer than just, oh, it's you. And I have people like stop me in Tesco's. Like I go shopping in Tesco's or Lidl or Aldi or Morrison's or wherever I'm going. I just go to multiple different shops because I have a very strange diet. And I will have people stop me, brokers who are like local areas. I cover, I live in an area, there's a lot of advisors here. People will stop me and be like, oh, hello, you're right, it's you. No joke. Like it's very powerful if you can make a visual brand as part of your kind of brand ecosystem. You're really off to a win, to be fair. And the next one to talk about is if you have a landing page, ensure it's on brand. Okay, replicate that visual experience across all your touch points. So what do I mean by this? If you're using funnels, if you've worked in an environment, you're working with a coach or consultant, some people out there teach funnels, and that's something that you want to continue to do, which by the way can be good, can be bad, depends on the way you've done it. Then you want to make sure that it replicates and looks the same as you. Every piece of touch point, every social media platform, everything, every social media platform, every website, every piece of like literature, any touch point at all, both online and offline, should emulate what you look like and your brand and your style and your visuals. Don't settle for second best on that. A crappy white page, landing page with your face is not enough. Have it in your brand colors, have it looking good. These things make a difference. These are visual cues. They're going to stimulate. It's exactly the same thing. It's why I say to people, have the same headshot or same display picture on every single profile. That is an easy indicator. If someone looks at mine, and I need to get new ones because my hair's growing back, but like I've got me, with like a buzz cut and my headphones on, and I've got a yellow background. You can find me then on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, so anywhere, because you can see it's the same guy. You need to make your clients' lives very easy for them to associate who you are and how that fits in. It's exactly the same thing with a landing page. You want them to be seamless. It should be, and I remember someone saying this to me, who's a website developer, saying it should feel like if I clicked from your website to your online course, for example, for me, he was like, it should feel like I'm in the same website. So it should be like if I feel like I clicked from your social media to your website, it should feel like that's just a natural transition. It just is naturally where it would go. You wouldn't have this kind of broken, is this a different place? That's the type of thing you need to be thinking about. So the next one to talk about is that it is okay to test things. Okay, algorithms change dynamically. They change things to develop new stuff. So it's okay for you to develop a growth mindset and keep testing. So the reason I say this is because I teach a method, a very specific method that I follow. That it's quite a long tail method. It's like an 18-month, 2-year process to get this all in place. And I often, if you watch my content, I'll often have clients who'll say to me, you're doing something different now. I'm like, no, I'm normally testing things. I'm playing with things. I'm trying things out. And the reason I say it is people get so rooted in it. They're like, well, you're now doing this and you were doing that. And so what you were saying before, is that wrong? Were you wrong? And it's like, no, I wasn't wrong. We're testing something new and this stuff is always changing. And so the reason I'm saying this for yourself is to understand that it's okay that what you were doing before might not be the best thing now, but it could have been the best thing then, and it could have been the best thing for you at your skill set then. So there's so many different things to know, and it's okay to test. It's okay to test. And I'm a big fan of that. If I have clients who come to me and they say, Ash, I really want to try this specific thing, I'm like, go for it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. We know what I'm teaching, the things I teach to clients, I know work right now. So I'm like, that we know works. So if you do that over a long period of time, you're going to get results. But there are better ways. There are faster ways potentially, but they might have a much less consistent return as opposed to the strategy we follow, which is, the kind of awareness, nurture, search, bringing people in. There's lots of multiple things that the spinning plates of it, but testing things out is great. I have a client right now who's playing around with some stuff with Facebook, that he's playing around with like different ways of when to post. It's all good. Testing is great, and you should be encouraged to do that. In fact, it means that you're trying things out, but don't get too locked in on this idea of this is how we do it. Because if you do, you're going to cause yourself a load of stress. I remember LinkedIn was my first platform that I did well on many years ago now. Be about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I think, maybe 5 years ago when it started to do really quite well. maybe 6. I can't remember now. It's a long time ago. But my LinkedIn platform was the first one that really started to take off. And as a mortgage broker, it was where all my leads came from as a mortgage broker was LinkedIn. And then when I launched this business, all my leads came from LinkedIn for this originally. Now that's so funny because now it's so far from the truth as to that. LinkedIn is probably my least successful platform now. And you can see that, like I have, it really is. And that's because LinkedIn's algorithm changed to really favor more text, but not just because LinkedIn's algorithm changed to favor more text-based content. It favored less educational content and more observational content. And it was not the type of content I was massively interested in. And I moved into podcasting and into building a brand in different platforms. But why I'm saying that is it wasn't the same strategy. The stuff I was doing then would not work now. And so if I'd stuck to it and been like, yeah, and I'd still do a different thing now to what I did then, LinkedIn's just, it's a beast in its own right. But it's like that is really important to identify. These platforms will change. And this is why an omnipresent strategy is very important. This is why having omni-channel, having multiple different platforms is important, because you don't know when a new update or an algorithm is going to come in and just effectively wipe out the strategy you're currently doing. And it happens on every single platform. Right now, mine is Instagram and podcasting. They're the two main ones for me. And actually, funny enough, YouTube is starting to generate me leads, which people always think is crazy, but it's starting to generate me leads from around the world. So it's not just in the UK, but around the world, I'm getting leads from YouTube. So it changes. So it's okay to test. It's okay to play. The next one to talk about is that your bio says a lot about your brand, okay? Clearly articulate your message and give visitors a good impression. So your bio on all social platforms it's going to be one of the first things people look at, especially on things like Instagram and TikTok, okay? Those two platforms specifically, which are two big lead drivers right now for many people, that your bio is important. So don't just have, and I remember seeing, having a discovery call with a guy who won't be listening to this, so it's fine. I won't say his name, but I don't remember his name. But I remember having a discovery call with this guy, and he said that he wrote on one of his bios, professional jungle gym. And I was like, what does that mean? And he said, oh, it's because I have kids and, they like to climb on me. And I thought, great. So you're trying to be, I was like, that's so confusing. Okay. And that's the other to think about. It goes back to the 3 C's: clarity, consistency, creativity. You've got to be clear. And that was super unclear. I was like, you're trying to be funny or witty, but no one knows what that means. And so they just think, okay, and they move away. And this is a very kind of like a teenage thing. I remember teenagers doing this a lot. When I was a performer at college, we'd have a lot of people doing this. And we'd all, what's that kind of cool bio? Because you don't want to write what you actually do. You want to write something weird and wonderful. Don't do that. Just write what you do and be very clear with your bio. Go through it. Look at some of the people who are successful. Look at people like Anish. Look at people like Carla. Look at people like, Joe Bartlett. Look at people out there who are very, very good, do very well, and then emulate. Just copy them. It's fine. But make sure your bio is clear, because if it's not clear, people will get confused. Now, the next tip we have here is that think about how you'll convert those people who reach your page, and how you're going to convert them when they actually arrive. So when they come to your social media page, what is the way? Because you've got to remember, social media is the first point of call, really, for many. Well, it's not the first. Normally what happens is someone will refer you, and then they'll go and check you out on social media, which is a big kind of side point with this. Is I remember speaking to one of my clients, and he said he classes every lead as a social media lead. And I was like, okay, because some people will go, I don't get anything from social media. And he said he classes every lead as a social media lead. He said, because where do you think when someone refers, someone says, oh, I'll tell you what, they've got this great advisor, John, or Jane, whatever. They're great. Can you come and check them out? What do you think they're doing? You're going work with them. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to look you up. They're going to look you on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whichever one they use the most. They're going to go and look you up to see if you're good before they make the introduction. The vast majority of people, especially younger people, as in people below the age of 40, I would say, are going to do that. Over the age of 40, maybe not, but probably still, but definitely under the age of 40, they are going to look you up. So your social media, then they're not going to say hi, I was referred by Jamie Smith, and I went and stalked you on social media. They're not going to say that. They're going to say, oh yeah, Jamie recommended you. He thinks you're really good. But they haven't said they've just looked through 10 videos of yours, seen your results and your testimonials. This is why brokers get wrong with this, is they don't realize how important this stuff is to nurture the lead, which is why we call it nurture, the lead to the point of actually getting in contact. Now, and that's crazy. And this is why most people struggle, because they're like, social media doesn't work. I'm like, no, it absolutely does work. Like, cut out all social media and see what happens. Like, trust me. But you have to think about it in like a funnel. You have to think, how are they going to come from your social to you, and think about that process. And it is a funnel. So like for myself, it is, you listen to this and then there is always a link. So the link takes you to a website. There's a link in the show notes here. There's a link on all my profiles to get to it. So it's knowing how are you going to take them from being a visitor to a client. And so that's things like Calendly links, booking links, things like Linktree. I would advise against. And the only reason is because the more stuff you put into it, the harder it is to work. Okay, so the more you like Linktree, you're giving them an overwhelm. If they're on one social media platform, don't try and move them to the next social media platform, which is a mistake. You'll go on Linktree and it's like, click on Linktree. I'm on Instagram, and then it's like, oh, come and check me out on TikTok, check me out on YouTube. No, come and book a call. Okay, so get them to book. That's the only thing you want them to do, is book a call. So if you don't, and like this is a big mistake, is we're all trying to get people to cross-pollinate. No, get them to book a call. So that's it. Just one link, make it very clear, and you'll do very, very well over time. But the mistake people have is they have this free PDF, this, don't just do one link. And if it's book a call, great. If you're too busy and you don't have the availability, you have a drop out one. I have this. When I've got the availability, book a call is the link on my bio. When I don't have the availability, it is the blueprint. Okay, it's as simple as that. The blueprint still gets picked up all the time, but if I'm really busy and I really don't have the space to take a new client, the blueprint goes in as the main call to action, which is more of a holding space. And then I have the other one. It's fine. It's very simple. And the last one we have in this tip is social is fun. Okay, a little play here, little business, and a little work here, and then you'll make it work. So what I'm saying effectively with this, I wrote this down when I was writing these all down, but effectively what I'm saying here is it is fun. You should enjoy this. You should, like, social media is fun. People get caught up in it and a bit like, oh, it needs to work. Just play around with it. Have fun. Be creative. It's the reason why it is one of the 3 C's. Be clear, be consistent, but be creative. Have fun with it. The more fun you have, the more you'll enjoy it. The more you enjoy it, the more you'll do it. The more you do it, the more successful you'll be. It's really that simple. I love this. I've been going through, I went through my YouTube channel. Now all the videos have been privated at the moment because we've been rebranding and because I've been like doing a big overhaul of this with the new direction of my business and of this and what we're doing. So it's very exciting. But I've got over 3,000 videos on my YouTube channel on that specific one. And I've got like over 300 videos on another YouTube channel. And that doesn't include any of my other content on any of the platforms. And my YouTube channel is only a couple of years old. So this is crazy, the amount of content. And the reason I'm saying that, it's not because and by the way, quite a lot of them bomb because the channel wasn't for generating leads. It's about actually just to log stuff I'm learning. But realistically, a big part of this is I enjoy it. Because I enjoy it, I'll do more of it. And so it's the exact same thing for yourself. If you enjoy it, you have fun, you will do well. Now, up next, we have my guest. Now, this is a real treat for me. I'm so proud to have Nicola on the show today. She's going to be talking about her experiences of making content over the last few months and what she's kind of found from it. But Nicola is a client of mine. She is probably, in my opinion right now, probably one of the best people in the industry for storytelling content. Now, this came off the back of some stuff I was teaching her right at the beginning, which I teach to pretty much every client. However, she really stuck at it. And it's hard to do. To tell stories through content is very, very difficult. And she stuck at it, and she stuck at it over and over again. Goes back to what we were saying about if you like it or not. And she is crushing it. She's doing really, really well, and I'm very proud of her. Now, I wanted to bring her on to share this. I'm going to play one of her videos before, which is one of my favorite videos, which is actually, before we bring her on, which is actually where she actually she's done a video about Breaking Bad and and how that connected to life insurance, which already straight away is super clever. And she got some angry comments and from some people. And then from that, she was turned that comment into another really great story-based, emotionally driven piece of content, which I want to show you right now.
Angry grieving. Why? Sometimes angry grieving people comment on my reels. Recently one made me sad. A husband commented on a post I made about Breaking Bad. He was advocating cooking crystal meth because his wife was medically retired from teaching when diagnosed as terminally ill. So instead of her death in service lump sum, she got a couple of pension payments. I get why he's angry. I would be too. Dedicated to a job, relying on that same dedication coming back for her family. But when the worst happened, it didn't, because she was too ill to still be employed. So then her family all suffered, and it leaves a bad taste. I know, because we didn't have enough money to rely on when my dad died, and it's horrible. Please don't rely on other people or your employer to look after you or your family. Do it yourself. Pay for it. So you know it will definitely be there if you will need it.
So, like, that's, as you can see already, that what a powerful way, an incredible video, and every video that Nicola makes is like that. So without further ado, let's just bring her on the show because, yeah, I'm just super excited to have her on. Let's do it.
Pardon the interruption, but we wanted to make sure that you follow Ash on Instagram for exclusive and behind-the-scenes content. Now, back to the show.
Hello, Nicola. Welcome to the show.
Hiya.
You are, a client of mine. I've worked with you now for a while, and I wanted to bring you on the show because I just think you're absolutely crushing it. And not just do I think it, I'm also getting people telling me how good you are. You're actually coming up as, which I always know is a good sign, is when people refer to certain clients of mine when on a discovery call. And your name has come up quite a lot often over the last few months. So I'm super excited to have you on because I know that you don't believe me.
No, I don't. It all makes me feel very embarrassed. But yeah, I've just about got used to sticking a camera in front of my face. But yeah, I'll believe you.
My listeners and for people watching this, listen to this, just give us a bit of a background. Take us up to the point where you're about to do social media.
I've been in the industry a long time, too long. I wish it wasn't so long. But Sphere has been in existence for just over 10 years. There's now 11 of us in the company, and we do mortgages and protection. And my passion is in protection, really. I really enjoy selling it. And it sounds like a really strange thing to say, but because I think people find it a bit strange to love it, but I do. And we have a really nice, good company where our ethos is that we treat people like their friends and family. So we want to look after everyone properly. And that's what we do, really, like nice and gentle.
Talk me through why you decided, after doing this for 10 years, you decided to go, I'm going to go a completely different route and start to build an online brand and put myself out there on camera. What was the thought process behind that?
We tried other bits and pieces on social media ourselves. We paid for stuff. We'd done bits and pieces. I'd been doing it myself a little bit because of this passion for the company, really, and a passion for what I do. None of it had ever worked because none of it was us or me, and particularly with protection. For me, it's all about why you do it, caring about people, and we could never get that vibe. But yeah, I could see other people were doing really well in it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure, although I'm not like a person who wants to be on camera, really, don't know how it happened, but I've had loads of things I wanted to say. I like to say what's on my mind. Anybody who knows me knows that. So I was like, maybe I could just say what's on my mind, but I don't really know where to start. So I did start researching who I might work with, and I did stalk you for a little while, and then I decided that actually I liked what you were doing and how you were saying it. I knew a couple of your clients, so I had a look at what they were doing, and then decided that if I was going to do it, now was the time to do it. And timing for me was a little bit based on after family. Sphere's 10, my little boy is just about to be 6. And for most of that 10 years, I was in having my fertility journey, really. So not being able to have a child, to then adopting a child, to then getting completely embroiled in being a mum for a little bit. And then now feeling like this was my time to tell my story and to be who I want to be.
How did you find it when you first started? Was it something that you were nervous about, or was it something you thought, I'm really excited to dive into this?
Done some videos on my own, kind of with no structure and no anything else, just if I'd had something to say, like really sporadically. You'd be talking like I'd get on camera like once a month. So I had actually put some videos out there, and I think I knew that wasn't working. I wasn't really nervous about putting myself in front of the camera, even though you have to leave your vanity at the door, I think, really. I'm not the kind of person who's going to stand and do my hair and makeup every single day so I can go on camera. And nor do I think people are looking at you for that. They want advice on important things, and that's other people can do those bits. So I was excited about learning how to do it properly. I'm not really sure I realised at first what the commitment would be in terms of how regularly you were going to make me do it. And then it's like a little hamster wheel, really. It just keeps going, and you just find yourself creating content like in the most random of places and having to find somewhere to write some notes so you can remember the thought you just had that you could then put on a reel tomorrow. So yeah, I was excited and nervous because at first I spent a lot of time looking at how many people were looking at what I was doing and whether something was good or bad, and there was a lot of pressure on every single one. And now I don't even really look at that at all, because it's all about just rolling forward and doing something different every single time.
Then leads me on to this thing, which is where I think you are probably, in my opinion, one of the best in the industry at this. It's this idea of storytelling. That's what comes up with you time and time again when people refer to you, is it's the type of content you create is really, there's no one else I've seen do it to the level and the consistency and the emotional connection that you have in your content to the stuff you say. And one of the things you wrote down on this form for the podcast was it's thinking about the why. So could you just talk me through, for the listeners really, because obviously I help you with the strategy, but it's talk us through what you do with your content, how you approach it, because you approach it incredibly different to pretty much everybody else out there right now.
Obviously there's a bit of a format for it in terms of how to put the story in, but it came quite naturally to me in that protection has always been about why someone wants it, not what they're having. So it's not about life insurance being a lump sum of money. It's about life insurance looking after the people that you love. It's not about what if you're sick. It's about how can this help you get better? And a story is the easiest way to tell that. I've got so many stories from clients and friends. People tell me stories all the time. I can think about the story from the point of view of a mum. My dad had cancer, so I can also think about it from the story of the child of someone who had cancer and died. And it's all about putting that why in front of the consumer, because we do it in our appointments all the time, or certainly good advisors would do it in front of. I never talk about the products. This is a solution to the thing you're worried about, and the thing I've made them worry about maybe to a degree, but the thing you're worried about, this is the solution. And if you get focused too much on, and this kind of process works really well for putting in front of customers on a reel.
You anchor things to emotional and everyday stuff, and you very rarely talk about products. Where do you come up with your ideas? That's the bit that I think is the thing that always stumps me. You tag me in my posts every morning, and every morning I'm always thinking, what is she going to say today? So where do you get these ideas?
Some of it will be client stories. So some things will be stuff that's happened to at my desk. I did one recently that was from someone's negative comment on my reel. Somebody put a comment on, and I turned it round into why they felt that way, being about a lack of insurance, really. But it just happens to me, like in terms of how, and that's why I knew protection was a thing. Like I think about protection all the time, literally probably dream about it too much. But it's in different bits of my life, really. Bits of me being a mum. So I'll think about something, your kid's a bit young yet, but they do start asking about what happens when you die, what happens when you do this, and you're dealing with that stuff day to day. Or you hear a story of somebody doing a GoFundMe or something, and what you've got to do is then, what I've tried to do is then put it into a human form for me. I often have to take some of the emotion out of it because some of it's too emotional to do, and try and keep it to the same level I do as in my client appointments. I've never liked disturbing people. Like I think there's you can go to a human level of disturbing, which is just going, this is a problem. We weren't going to focus on it too much. We're going to solve it. And then you can stop thinking about it. And because I've always done that with my clients, I try and do that but literally everyday life. Honestly, I'll be doing all sorts and start writing down. That's a great idea for quite often when I'm going to sleep. That's when they jump into my head. Or when I'm watching Bluey, that's another time.
Yeah.
Zoning out watching kids' TV programs, doing much Bluey. Just, and like I said, then at my desk, just client stories, claims, or stories people have told me, and then try and put it into a relatable format that's a minute long.
You've had like people stop you in the street and say their kids stop you in the street and say their mums have listened to the videos, or like, what has been the responses that you've had in regards to the outreach?
Really good for me. I think people now know what I do. And then they see somebody, I would tell you this one, I was at the Coronation Fun Day on Sunday, and somebody said, when I see you, I always feel like I should ask for your autograph because I think you're actually famous because you're always on my Facebook. And I was like, yeah, you don't need to ask my autograph, that's fine. I think because it's your own business, you don't want to go on banging on telling everyone what you do all the time. And I've had people joke about, oh, there's Nicola, she's going to tell us we might get a critical illness. So I've had people joke about it, but equally, if they want any of those things, they now know who they're going to go and get it from. So even the jokes, they're a form of feedback, aren't they? For people who definitely in that kind of group and local community, and it goes in local groups and stuff, what I tend to do is look at what the best post from the last week was and put it in the local mums or parents groups and other bits and pieces, just so that one gets a bit more exposure locally. And then within all of that, people are coming to us just saying, oh, somebody commented on something and I know you're the person to talk to about this. People have grabbed me in the playground to talk to me about income protection, which nobody ever grabs you and talks about income protection in normal real life. But now they do, which is crazy. I think is probably where I would want that to come from anyway. It's really natural and organic. It's organic, but not, it's promoted organic, isn't it? Yeah. It's still from where my client pool is. It's just more people know to come to me more than they ever would before.
What final bit of advice would you give if someone is thinking about starting social media right now, if they were saying, I'm thinking about it, but I'm nervous?
I don't think you should be nervous. I think you should be thinking about why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. And I think you should be passionate about what you're doing. I think you should be thinking about your customers, who they are, what they want from you, and what they would want to see you doing, and then thinking about whether you can do that. And if you can do that, then go for it, because that kind of, there's no point thinking it, oh, other people are doing it, I can't do it. There's already somebody in that space, because no one is you are you. And that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's about getting you as a person across. And I think that's what I always wanted to do, is have me as my person being able to be showcased to a degree. That's what I wanted, and that's what it is. And if you want to do that, then do it. If you're thinking, oh, I could do with a couple of extra protection sales this month, I wonder if I did a couple of videos on, it's not going to work, is it? Because you've got to think about all the extra content and you've got to put the work in. I know that I have my sessions with you, I have to do homework for my sessions, I have to constantly be doing things all the time, and there's a pressure on my time to do that, and it takes a commitment, but that commitment will be worth it. And it's really enjoyable, to be honest. We've got loads more different marketing angles from me doing this, beyond me just doing this, because I'm thinking in a different way now, and I really enjoy it. It's just added an extra layer of something fun to the job that's not been there before. But you just have to, I think you have to really want to do it.
Yeah.
And you need to know why you're doing it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Nicola. It's been a great pleasure to have you on. I love what you're doing. And I think everyone should go and check out your content just to see how good it really is.
Thank you very much for having me on here.
See, isn't Nicola just wicked? I love her, and I love everything about it. I think you guys had a real treat there. She's so good. Now, if you want to learn more about Nicola and you want to find more about her, you can actually go onto her. You can go and watch her content. It's on Instagram. It's on everywhere, but Instagram is probably my favorite place right now to see, because it's the easiest to find it. And so it's Nicola Huxley, and she just makes loads of videos, at one a day, Monday to Friday, all around these type of things, and every single one of them is just so story emotional driven. I mean, it really to be fair, it truly is something special, and very proud to have her on the show. Very proud to see the results she's getting, and also to just kind of hold her up to the rest of you and go, look, this is possible. Like, if you put the effort in to really learn the stories and connect on a real emotional level to your clients, you are going to see the results. You really will, which to be fair is pretty amazing, and definitely something that you should do.
We wanted to interrupt the show to make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel for all the best mortgage marketing content. Search for Ash Borland and subscribe now. Back to the show.
So let's bring us into the final part of the episode. And in this episode, we're going to be actually looking a little bit on the storytelling that Nicola was talking about in there. I wanted to share a bit with you about the type of structure that we originally followed, and I've done episodes on this before on this podcast. I don't think on the YouTube channel anymore because of the kind of overhaul of the YouTube channel, but I have done episodes on this before in multiple times. And so I wanted to unpack this for you. And this is the structure that you can follow to get the beginning. So let's have a look. So I refer to this as the storytelling structure. Okay. Now the storytelling structure, you can effectively, you build your script or your video idea if you're not scripting around these things, and it helps you build out a good video. Now this is what Nicola doesn't follow this now because she follows it loosely, and so will I loosely. But when people start off, you really need to make sure that you follow something to learn. It's about learning those habits. So we're going to follow it now. Now it's broken up into, there's 5 sections to each one, and to the story, and it's very possible. Now I have had a client, an old client of mine who doesn't work with me anymore, say this was not possible to do in less than a minute, and I can tell you right now it absolutely is. You've got to get better at it. They just didn't put the work in, sadly, to do that, but it is very possible. Now let's go through them first. So when you start your video, you want to open with an opinion or a statement. So it's opening with an opinion or a statement. Mistake that people make if they're trying to not do, so if you're trying to do FAQs, which is frequently asked questions, then you open with a question. But if you're trying to make story, emotional driven content, you need to start with an opinion or a statement, not a question. So not like should mortgage broker, like most of my content I create, by the way, is FAQs, but for your stuff, it's emotional. You don't potentially want to do that. It's not, should you get a mortgage if you're a first time buyer? Like, it's none of that. It's better to open with an opinion or a statement. So your opinion could be that I believe that, let's say for this one, I believe that parents shouldn't be involved in, like, you shouldn't be taking your parents to view your house and getting too involved in the home buying process. Let's say that. So you start with an opinion. The more polarizing that opinion is, the better. Because the idea of this, it should be a slap in the face. Positive, negative, whatever, but it's really good because it's catching their attention. From there, you add more context to the opinion, because otherwise the opinion is just a load of rubbish. It's just like a rude statement. You want to add context to it. So it might be, I believe that that parents shouldn't be out getting them too involved in the home buying process of their children. And then add more context. Oftentimes you do see parents who feel like they've maybe been gifting a deposit, or even not even that, but they start to get too involved, and they want to be at every viewing, at every meeting, and it can be a problem. Okay, so that's the adding context. So you're effectively just adding a little bit of context around the opinion you've stated. You then move to the third step, which is raise the stakes. Now, raise the stakes is effectively what would happen if you do not take action, or what would be the negative outcome if you didn't take action or took the wrong action. So the raise the stakes for this could be you could potentially lose your house or miss out on a house because you're waiting for your parents for their blessing, and actually that means you could miss the house of your dreams. Or you could miss you could miss the interest rate rise, the good rate as rates are rising, all this stuff. So that's raising the stakes. Now, this whole thing, this open with an opinion, add context and raise stakes, usually should only be about 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds. Okay, so not too, maybe 15, not very much. So it's like 1 sentence, 2 sentences, 1 sentence. That's pretty much the structure of it. From there, you move to tell a story. Now, tell a story is literally just something that happened. It's it's a good news story, bad news story. You want to tell a story that reinforces the statement you've just said. So I could say, I actually had a client recently who lost out on a house. They'd found the house of their dreams, but their parents wanted to have the final say before they actually bought it. They actually sadly were unable to buy the house because there was a bidding war on the house, and they lost that house due to the fact their parents couldn't make the appointment and see the viewing in time before the house was closed. So straight away, that's a story. The story doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be the ins and outs of everything. It just has to be something that effectively cements in reality what it is you're doing. So it's the reality of the situation, why your opinion is based on that. Now, with mortgage brokers, these stories should be true, but they don't have to be true if you're starting out. You've heard of them, you've said whatever. Like, it's okay to kind of, talk about a false story, so to speak. But really, the best stories come from real ones. As you can see with Nicola's one that we were talking about earlier, about how her story of being able to about that negative comment, that adds much more power because it's real. So it does help. But at the beginning, if you need to make them up to fit this context, it's okay. And then the final part is moral of the story. This is teaching moment. So effectively, it's the lesson. So it's like, what is it that they should do in order to not be in that situation? And that's normally going to be get mortgages, get insurance, whatever it's going to be for your story. It's going to be seek advice is pretty much the end thing. And that is the storytelling structure. It's very, very simple, very basic. But if you follow this and try to keep your videos under a minute through that, and you just think about this every time you record a video, so just do one line, next one line, next one, you will get good. This is actually what Nicola did. She got very, very good at doing this over and over again. I asked her to do this. She stuck at it. She carried on going. And this is the thing that so many people don't do. It's very, very hard. That type of thing is very not normal. It's normally we'd sit there and just talk about something that we know, instead of being like actually putting this stuff together. Very similar to these podcasts and these shows is I've now, instead of just rocking up and talking about stuff, I actually plan them. I have the guests, I have the shows, I have the intros, the outros, the mid, everything is all planned and prepped, so it makes a better experience for you. And that is exactly the same thing for your videos. If you can do that and you can focus on it, you'll do really well. So let's dive into the episode takeaway, because we're coming to the end of the show today. And today's episode, I really would just really talk about, I want to just kind of highlight, we've gone through some of those tips and tricks that you can think about when it comes to your branding. Those things, those 8 or 7, I always get them wrong, that they are important. They are very important. They're probably basic foundational level stuff. If you follow those things, you're going to do all right. Okay, you're going to be all right. If you're posting like once or twice a week and you follow those things, you'll do okay. You'll do enough to be able to, on your branding, to be able to start to chip away at some of that stuff. So definitely focus on that. I also would love to do the takeaway, which is this idea of like with Nicola, is this idea of think about how you can connect and make your content and you're more emotionally driven. Not all of it, 1-2 a week. If you're doing 5 a week, do 1 or 2 a week. If you're doing 2 a week, and do 1 a week, in regards to like making it just 1 video a week. Just focus on how can I make that one specifically really emotional. And then you can do your FAQs. After that, it's fine. You can do your other, what is it, this, what are they? They're cool. FAQs have a place. They definitely do, which stands, by the way, for frequently asked questions. People who don't know what that means. Just because I know for years I didn't know what FAQ was. But like, frequently asked questions is fine. Like you can do that. But think about maybe incorporating other things in there as well, and you'll do well with that as well. So that's the episode takeaway today. I've really enjoyed another great episode hanging out with you guys. I love doing this show. Be sure to tune in to every week. So it comes out every Tuesday. New episodes. They're live on Instagram. They're live on they come out at midnight on YouTube and on all podcasting platforms, and then they come out at 12, like midday, on Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can listen to them live on Facebook and LinkedIn. They are pre-recorded, obviously, but they are live broadcasts for people who that's how they get their shows. So we're pretty much covering everything. But if you are, the YouTube place is the best place to get it, and also there are links to it in the Instagram. So I always link out on Instagram to the YouTube video for you to watch on that day, and a couple of times as well through the week, so you don't miss. So be sure to check it out. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to the Mortgage Marketing Podcast with Ash Borland. If you've enjoyed the show, then be sure to leave a review and share it with a friend right now.